So we're doing a part 3 to the Civilization series. So we did the first 2 parts, but I didn't really ever do a third part. So yes, we're going to be continuing this series today. So we'll be doing more expansions into unknown, uncolonized territory. The Celts will colonize the rest of Ireland, and we'll soon start to colonize these islands up here. They don't really have anywhere to go. They don't have caravels yet, so they can't get to Iceland. Meanwhile, England will continue to colonize parts of Scandinavia, which will be very, very, very impactful as well. Also, there will be an expansion for Denmark and another expansion for Norway. Not Norway, for Sweden as well. Basically blocking Denmark off and basically creating a Swedish empire. Norway, however, will expand to this island and will colonize a little bit of roughly of Estonia as well. We'll see if they keep this, but yeah. Next is Poland, which they'll expand this way. They don't really have much to expand, and they basically create the old borders of Poland, Lithuania here. Austria expands to the borders bordering Poland for the first time. Germany just takes the rest of this area here. They also take these little islands here, and Sweden also takes this island right here. We're not gonna really do many of these islands. Also, Greece takes all. Okay, Greece takes all this area here, and all of this area right here will be taken by Byzantium as well. The Ottomans will take over Cyprus and will colonize a lot of the inner portion of Turkey as well. The Huns, however, will still be able to expand. They'll expand this way into Kazakhstan, and parts of Kazakhstan and Russia. Russia will basically expand into the east. Huns and Russia do not border each other, so there isn't any real conflicts yet. However, there will be the Babylonian expansions. They'll expand further down here as well, and they'll expand into Azerbaijan right here. Persia will expand into this area, expand the land greatly. Arabia will expand here and take all of this land right here. Assyria will basically block off Egypt from expanding here. There's always this little area of the Arabian desert they can basically take. Egypt will expand further to Egypt's modern day borders, and because this land is basically useless, Egypt will also expand down here. Carthage expands to here, while Rome expands to these islands, and Spain colonizes these little islands right here. Morocco takes this little amount of land right here and continues expanding into sub-Saharan Africa. Here. Carthage expands down here. Today is basically as colonized as all this little desert here. And the Songhai continue to expand further south here, alongside Ethiopia, which they're basically the only Sibs in Africa, besides the Zulu in sub-Saharan Africa. So this is a huge amount of land they're taking. Same thing with the Zulus taking over this large amount of area right here, expanding even further. Then we also have Asia. Asia is still pretty empty. India expands to this area right here. Siam takes this peninsula here. China basically takes this area right here. And Korea annexes all of here. Japan starts to colonizes Taiwan and colonizes the tip of this peninsula right here, taking it over. Here. Indonesia colonizes the rest of Borneo, and Polynesia takes over a lot of New Guinea right here, taking over a lot of the island. Also, they also colonize this tip of New Zealand right here, basically set up for discovering the island. Here. They also expand the Little California colony even further, the south, taking over Baja California. So Sony, finally get to the west coast and basically colonize this whole entire area, which is actually very valuable land, so they don't get that much. The Aztecs expand further north, entering Texas for the first time. The Mayans expand into South America for the first time. Here, setting up basically the third wheel in South America. The Incas expand down here, and Brazil continues to expand into the southern portion of the country, which is very, very useful land here. The USA here expands further into the south here, and also expands here as well, giving the USA a lot of coastal land. The Iroquois continue to expand here and basically take the rest of the Great Lakes. They control the entire Great Lakes region as well. Also, we got about Mongolia. They take a lot of land down here. The first wars happen. So Rome uses its army to invade Venice. This isn't too surprising. Venice is not going to survive because they can't create settlers like in the actual game. The Byzantines also see this and take some of the land away, eliminating Venice from the game. Yeah, they're just taking up space. I just want to get rid of them as fast as possible. No, not Byzantines, the Greeks. The Greeks also take this little island here. A war between Portugal and Spain break out. Spain takes this little area of land out of the war, and this is what was decided as well. Next turn. Countries don't really start. There's a turn where countries really start having wars, like actual big wars. So the first of the expansions will start in North America. The United States takes over a lot of the South and takes over Florida, and also takes over this part of Canada. Basically creating the 13 colonies. What is basically the 13 colonies? They also take over Vermont. No one lives there anyway, so yeah. The Iroquois continue to expand for the south here, creating a massive inland empire. Here, the Shoshone expand into this land here, and the Aztecs meet both the Iroquois and the USA for the first time, and have a border with them. Polynesia takes over Vancouver Island as well, and they start. Oh yeah, they don't colonize the ocean. They also colonize the North Island of New Zealand and the rest of Papua New Guinea. They don't really get a lot of things, but they do colonize the rest of this area. Indonesia colonizes this island right here, and the southern portion of the Philippines. And they also colonize this island right here. Siam colonizes a lot of here. Basically, the smaller countries start creating a lot more settlers here, and China and Siam meet for the first time. China is becoming a big, chunky country. They also colonize this land to protect their capital even more. Here, the Mongolia colonizes basically all of here, making both China and Mongolia meet for the first time. They realize how massive Mongolia is, but most of the land is not very populated. Next is the Korean expansion, where they expand to a massive area here. In Japan, they do some colonizing of the Philippines. As there's no Philippine civ in the game, Japan is free to colonize the area. As they discover boats. India starts to expand into southern portion of India here, and colonizing the starting to colonize the southern portion. Arabia colonizes this little area here, meaning many civs cannot really expand anymore, unless it's by boat. Babylon colonizes this area here, and Ottomans colonize this area here. Russia colonizes this area right here, bobbing out here, and the Huns colonize this area, which is basically modern-day Kazakhstan. Countries that really don't border anyone are not going to really declare war on each other. So Persia will expand this way. Egypt will basically start colonizing sub-Saharan Africa. Here, the Zulus will colonize this entire desert here. No one lives here, so the Zulus just take it. Here, the Songhai colonize basically what is modern-day Niger. Here, Carthage colonizes this whole desert area. Morocco takes over this entire desert area right here because no one lives in it. We're using EU4 logic here. They also colonize this little area right here. Also, Brazil has another expansion. They colonize this area right here. And the Incas start to colonize Argentina. No, in Chile. However, the Mayans start to colonize Colombia and Venezuela, giving the Incas and the Mayans a border. The USA colonizes this area right here and colonizes Cuba. So the US does own Cuba in this world. The Aztecs start to move up north here. And Sassoni create a border in North America. The Iroquois colonizes this very desolate land. They don't really have much road to expand, so they expand north. Colonizing this entire area. Also, China does colonize this little area here as well. Indonesia colonizes this little island here. In Europe, there wasn't really much to colonize. England, the Danes cut off England, which might cause a massive war. Also, Sweden does expand further this way and expands into Finland as well. The Danes take over basically this entire area. They'll likely lose it in the future. Also, Poland takes over this area. Also, we have some cursed borders right here with Byzantium. Also, the Celts have boats, so they colonize Iceland. That's all that happens. They just take the entire island because no one lives on Iceland. And this causes a war between England and the Celts again. So England starts to push back against the Celts. The Celts don't really have a very strong army, so they can't really do much about it here. And the Celts are pushed back here to this little border here. They peace out before they get eliminated as well, but this is a pretty bad sign for the Celts. However, England isn't going to do too well either. There was Denmark declares war against England in order to basically get rid of those dirty English people from Scandinavia. Denmark starts to push into many of the towns and cities England has settled, mostly towns, and this is, Denmark's way of saying get out. They find it hard to get through the mountains, so they make peace with England. A war between Austria and the Romans break out. Rome cannot really break past the mountains. This is a very, very hard thing. They can only really break out towards here. The border is pretty well defended here. Meanwhile, France declares war on the Netherlands to expand. This causes the war between the Netherlands and France to break out, causing the French to basically push through. Meanwhile, this little area here wants to break free from the Dutch, and they start a revolt here. A new Swiss nation is created, creating a new Civ as well. Or an independent country right here. As the Netherlands is unable to really keep control of this area. And basically the bigger the Civ is, the worse this is. So the North American Civs and Asian Civs will have a really big struggle with this real fact right here. Now it's the next turn here. So, first is the expansion. Morocco expands into this little area here. The Songhai they'll expand into the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the Congo River here. The Zulus expand to this little area here, taking all of this land here. Ethiopia takes over a lot of land here, blocking off many countries as well, blocking off Egypt forever. And yeah, Carthage takes over a lot of the desert here and conquers a lot of the desert. So they all look pretty big, but you gotta realize that a lot of this land is worthless desert here. Next is Russia. Russia colonizes a lot of the northern Arctic areas here. Meanwhile, Sweden takes over Karelia. Here. Also, the Huns, they don't want Byzantium's weird-ass borders. So, they just colonize this bordering region here. And they also colonize more of Siberia. Persia meets up with India for the first time, causing them to have a border with each other. Okay, India just takes over south of India because they're just going to colonize that anyways. Siam creates a border up here with India. Here. And China can't really go anywhere. They can't really expand anywhere. Yeah, we're getting to the point where expansion is not really going to be a feasible thing anymore. We're going to have to expand through force. Still, Korea and Mongolia continue to colonize the uninhabited Siberian tundra. Japan also starts to colonize it as well. They also reach into Alaska. Here, set up a colony in this part of Alaska up here. Why have they abandoned the Philippines? It's because Indonesia colonized it. Yeah, Indonesia isn't playing around, and they colonize the rest of these little islands down here. Yeah, living up to basically them being the island country. They also colonize Sri Lanka before India can. And also, they make their way towards Australia. Yeah, the Polynesians also colonized a lot of Australia already. But Indonesia takes over a lot of northern Australia. Here. Now it's South America time, the most boring continent of them all. Brazil takes over a lot of this land here. And the Incas colonized basically the tip of South America. Here. They also colonized this area here. And the US, well, they continue to expand through the Caribbean, giving the Caribbean its own type of freedom. They also colonized Puerto Rico and some of these little islands over here, reaching towards South America. Here. The Aztecs can't really expand, and the Iroquois expand into northern Quebec, where they, the Shoshone also expand north. And we'll just give this area to the US as well. And this is the world map. As of this turn, most of the world has been colonized. Most of the inhospitable areas are left. And there's also this little part of Nigeria that hasn't been colonized yet. And some wars break out. So Denmark and Germany fight a war with each other. Germany, of course, pushes back against Denmark. Yeah, and basically we're using civilized. Basically, they conquer any land, they get to keep it here. However, they weren't expecting Denmark to get an ally, and that's Austria. Austria pushes against many of the German towns down here. Here, the German army is now mostly focused on Austria and defending this chokehold here. And however, this turns into a continental war as Greece, the second most powerful country in Europe behind Russia, actually the third, the Huns are number 2. They start to expand into Austria here. The Austrian king sues for peace, and basically they lose a chunk of land to Greece as well. And Germany gains back some of the former towns from Austria right here. So Austria is kind of screwed here. Also, Mongolia starts an invasion of China. Does it go pretty well? They do invade some of a lot of these northern towns, as China's army is also pretty big. Thing is, Mongolia doesn't have a lot of population. So China is able to strike back pretty quickly as well. Mongolia, of course, sues for peace, and they basically gonna expand further into Siberia. Probably gonna become the biggest country in the world, but yeah. Also, the first war against the Zulus begin. The Zulus, the problem is their terrain is very hard to navigate. So the Ethiopians do push back for a beginning, but the Zulus, however, do get the warriors out, and they start to push back against Ethiopia's expansion here. They start to push back against a lot of Ethiopian towns here, and Ethiopia does actually lose some land out of this war here, as the Zulus were working to take some land. Ethiopia is a pretty large country, so they weren't able to basically take over all of Ethiopia here. However, there was a rebellion in this massive state over here. A lot of this area here does rebel and become its own country here. This makes the Zulu presidents pretty angry, and basically an amphibian state is created right here, with most of the areas surrounded by this area here. So yeah, basically it's just the free concept of free cities here. The next and final turn of the video here, we'll be doing the few expansions that do exist here. The Huns expanded to this desert here. Persia expands. Persia expands here. The Huns expand into this little desert area here, ending the colonization at this little lake here. The Russians do take a lot of this land here, so they're not out of the woodworks just yet, but Russia does colonize a lot of this land here. Mongolia basically colonizes the whole Himalaya area here, and Korea colonizes basically all of this little area up north here. Now it's Indonesia versus Polynesia. Indonesia expands towards southern Australia here, and Polynesia expands towards this part of Australia here. And they also take over South Island here. The Songhai take over this area. Meanwhile, Morocco takes on the desert here, basically colonizing all of Africa. Japanese Alaska is a thing, so they colonize all of Alaska here. Also, Japan becomes like the first. Also, the Celts colonize all of Greenland here, but then they realize there's a continent already colonized by countries. The Sassanid does colonize even more of this frozen wasteland here, and the Iroquois colonize this island up here and all of this land here. They basically get nothing out of it, so yeah. The Iroquois slowly make look big and scary, but a lot of this land is basically pointless. and Wolfers. The USA, however, does set up a colony up in the South America, creating the third, basically to make the game more interesting. Brazil colonizes this land here, and the Incas start to colonize the rainforest, and they also colonize all the rest of the land. The Mayans also colonize the Amazon River here, but they can't really do anything with it as the US basically blocks them. Yeah. This turn, no wars have been declared here, and this is the turn of the final expansions. So, the Sassoni basically colonized the rest of this area here, meet up with Japan, right here. The Uruguay colonized a lot of these islands here. The Celts is the first European power to have a colony in North America. They has colonized a bunch of islands. Like 2 people on max will live in these colonies. So yeah. Brazil will take the rest of this land up here. And now it's just the colonization of Siberia. Because most of this land is pointless, it will be divided between the foursome here. So the Huns will colonize this area. Mongolia will take over this large area here. And Korea will take over the rest. They also take over these islands up here. Meanwhile, Russia takes over these islands. Also, the colonization of Madagascar began. The Zulus discover and just colonize the whole island. Also, this island is colonized by Russia. This island is colonized by Russia. Svalbard is colonized by Sweden. So this is the whole world. This is who controls the political borders of the world. I didn't want any countries to be eliminated before we start like any actual major wars. We wanted the whole map to be filled first. And now, let's start with the actual wars. So, first the Netherlands, they declare war on this small Swiss nation right here. Taking out the capital city, and they retake the land as well. Save for the Zulus, they take back this nation right here, and there we go. Besides many minor border changes, this will be the map of the world at the end of episode 3. Goodbye.